Welcome everybody to the Tea with Ms McGill Show, presented by our friends over at Fortune Bay Resort and Casino. Make plans today because New Year's is coming, of course. So make plans today to go up to Fortune Bay Resort and Casino for the New Year's holiday. Of course, they are on beautiful Lake Vermilion. They have 172 rooms in a smoke-free environment, indoor pool, full-service marina, RV park, world-class golf, several dining options, bar and 24/7 gaming. Visit fortunebay.com for more details and plan your trip today so you can enjoy yourself on New Year's Eve. It is Puka speaking. There's the star of the show, Reed Larson. How'd Christmas go?
Christmas was there and gone, Puka. It's
Yeah,
it's a blur. It is. It seems like it's becoming more and more of a blur the older I get, but it's there and gone. Time flies so much more when you get old. So, but the crazy thing about it is it doesn't feel like it's Christmas because there's no snow on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, it's the brownest Christmas I've seen in my 45 years of life that I can recall. I don't know if that's a good sign for the rest of the winter where, maybe it's going to be a mild snow level, or maybe once the new year hits, we just get absolutely lambasted with foot after foot after foot of snow. I don't know, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that the shoveling and the snow blowing is at a lower level this year.
Yeah, I did. I took pictures on Christmas, just in front yard,
just to compare.
Yeah, be able to show the kids. You guys remember this one where there was no snow that year? So I took some pictures. Took pictures of the park across the street.
Yeah.
So I got it on the docket. So.
Yeah, well, last year at this time, like we talked about the Holiday Classic, and we got snowed out on whatever it was, the 14th of December. To miss the first game to go down Grand Rapids versus Edina. That was last year. Well, this year we didn't have any snow on the ground.
Yeah, right.
So it's different. But yeah, like I said, Christmas is a blur. It's always kind of nice to get that holiday season through and, get focused on the rest of the year and on to a new year.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Couple new subscribers this week. Reggie Hurt, Kelsey Hurt, and the Tony Giruli.
Tony Giruli.
Tony Giruli, huh? So we're really making it.
Okay.
Really making it. Yeah. So episode 73 are officially 6 weeks into the boys high school hockey season. And I did get one item of feedback real quick before we get going. I talked my whining last week about the holiday tournament. And people agree. So there's obviously another we can do about the holiday tournament. But going forward, Iron Rangers, what we still need to do, and Reed and I talked about this in the spring. Now that Rockridge is AA, at least the semifinals for single A hockey needs to be at the MEC and bring it back north. It's a neutral site now that they're AA. So when you see a politician, a city councilman, an athletic director, do everything you can to mention it. Let's get the hockey and maybe we can do the finals. I don't know what the crowds are like in that single A game, because I know the MEC only holds a couple thousand. I don't know what the single A finals games. Maybe some of you can comment that but let's make an effort. Of course, they're struggling over there too with the MEC and to raise property taxes in Virginia in a big way. Things have not gone as planned. So let's help them out and to get hockey.
The biggest piece to that is if people are interested in wanting these playoff games to come to different venues, then the conversation needs to come to Region 7, because Region 7 actually makes that decision. We call it Region 7. It's actually the Section 7 committee. They make those decisions at an administrative level, and actually the leader of that committee, I think the president of that committee, is the AD at Duluth East. So all of those decisions get voted on. Who's going to host, where are they going to host the section finals for, where the neutral, obviously the first round is always a neutral site. The last decade or so, the semifinals and the finals have been at Amsoil. But it's been kind of nice now that some of the bigger cities are out of Section 7A, that maybe you start bringing the finals back to the Memorial Building in Hibbing, or semifinals to the Iron Trail Center in Virginia, or even over here. We may not be hosting in Grand Rapids. We may not be hosting anything more than obviously just a quarterfinal game. If Rapids is a top seed, they're going to have a quarterfinal, but then semifinals will be at Amsoil and finals will be at Amsoil. Even the Yanmar Arena would be open for a semifinal or a final.
Yeah, and I know Hibbing was over here many years, like around the Adam Johnson area there, playing.
Well, yeah, usually it was you either in Section 7A. We used to do that when I was coaching at Virginia. If you were playing against Hibbing in the quarterfinal, Hibbing had to be away from home, so that would be played at the IRA Civic Center. And if you
Oh,
were
nice.
playing against somebody that's not Hibbing in the quarterfinals, then you were at the Memorial Building.
Okay,
So
makes sense.
I think it's a good idea to start bringing some of these back to range areas where there's at least a semifinal. If you want to play the final, at a bigger venue like it always used to be at the deck,
Yeah.
like Amsoil. In my opinion, some of the smaller schools, it might even be better to play the finals at Iron Range.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think, that's what I was kind
Yeah.
of wondering on the crowds, because, they can 2,000,
Yeah.
2,500 is what I heard. I mean, that'll be a packed house where you put 2,500 people in the Amsoil.
You don't even
feel like it's
notice.
empty. Yeah.
You don't even
so-
notice. You need to have 6,000 people at Amsoil, or it doesn't even feel like there's that many people there.
Right, exactly.
And the only groups, to be honest with you, the only teams that have ever been able to do that whenever there's a final is when it's Grand Rapids and Duluth East.
Yeah.
If it's Grand Rapids and Andover, you get a good portion of people from Rapids and no one comes up from Andover.
Mhm.
If it's East and Andover, you get a whole bunch of people from East, but no one from Andover.
Right.
It's like, it's been a long time since, Cloquet had been in the finals, but if it were ever a Cloquet in an East final,
that'd be.
it was packed
Yeah,
in there.
Or Denfeld East.
Densfeld at East
Densfeld
will be
East now
nice
can
to
happen,
see if it
yeah.
ever happens again too, because Duluth.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be a big one. All right, drill that like button. Good stuff already. Let's get into our game of the week, brought to you by our friends over at the Ring Sports Bar and Grill in Eveleth, just down from the Hockey Hall of Fame. Use your gift card. We did the no-brainer. We told you about the no-brainer. Of course, that special ended on Christmas Eve. So now's the time to use those gift cards. Breakfast, full menu, full bar, Friday fish fry, daily specials, hockey-themed environment, 248-8582, or you can order online at the ringsportsbarandgrill.com. And of course, remember, they have the breakout rooms for team banquets, functions. Some of that stuff you're going to be scheduling as we turn the year here anyway, so keep that in mind. All right, one game we previewed last week, kind of at the end of the show, wasn't even officially really in our previews till the end, but 7-1 at the time, Ely paid visit to the Snake Pit to the 1-6 Greenway Raiders. And, we kind of flagged it like, hey, what could happen here? So I did catch some of that game. 2-1 after one, Greenway. No goals scored in the second. Ely's got some power play time in the third, maybe to make it interesting. Greenway actually pounds home a shorty, and then they go get another one in the third period. So 4-1 win for the Raiders, despite, like I said, 2 power plays towards the end of the game there, or in the third period for Ely. So the, like I said, Raiders put a couple of Genos in the third period though. So you said I'm taking the Raiders. You were correct in taking the Raiders.
Yeah, you know what? There's nothing against Ely. Ely's hung in there for decades with the little numbers that they have and the small population up there in the the northwest angle, or whatever you want to call it. They're way up in no man's land, right? And but Greenway has still been able to hang on to some of their recent success.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been a struggle in numbers since 2019 when Greenway ended up runner-up in the state for single A. When Grant was at the helm, Grant Clafton was at the helm there as second to last year. Yeah, I think there's still just a little bit more there in your Greenland, so to speak. No pun intended. But Ely, a little bit of fight in their bones up there. They still want to keep their program the way it is. But some of these smaller towns right now, like Ely, like the Elys of the world, and they're really starting to lean and rely on some of the neighboring communities to try and combine so they can keep a program together. I don't really know who the next closest spot is to add Ely in, but they're probably going to have a conversation if the program wants to continue. That's you're playing a schedule that's pretty tough for you up there, and it's difficult to try and field any JV program at all. And that's a real big scheduling problem when you play high school hockey. I don't care if you're playing AA or you're playing single A. If you don't have a JV team to bring, nobody wants to play you. They don't want to schedule you to play because there's 20 kids that don't get to play that night, or 16 kids that don't get to play that night if it's just a varsity game.
Yeah.
So sometimes combining programs is the smart thing to do in order for you to get a decently competitive schedule.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Another game we previewed last week. Thunderhawks making the trip to the Twin Cities, facing off against number 1 Tonka. I don't know, you guys. didn't go your way, but you feel pretty decent getting out of there, right?
Yeah, there was some goods, bads, and some uglies, the good, bad, and the ugly, like we've talked about before. I think the good in that particular game is we've talked about the goaltending problem that Grand Rapids has. They've got 3 fantastic goalies. That game, the call came to sophomore Carter Casey, and that was the good that night. He 57 shots for 50,
Sophomore.
54 saves or whatever it was. What was the final? I can't even remember off the top.
I think it
of my
was
head.
54.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I forget the score because it was a shooting gallery there for a period of time. But to be honest with you, the pace and the tempo for the Thunderhawks was actually Thunderhawks scored first. We're up 1-0, and kind of sustained that for the majority of the first period, and then they tied it up. And then they were able to pop another one in. So you go into the locker room only down, I think it was 2-1 after the first period of the number 1 team in the state. You're thinking you're in this if you can just fix a couple of things, right? There's still some things, and you're never going to get I'm satisfied kind of an attitude from Coach Grant Clafton, because if you're satisfied, you're SOL, right? You have to continue to get better and continue to get better. So going into the locker room saying, okay, you're in it.
Yeah, oh, definitely in it.
And you're not even playing that great. If you were playing great and you were in it, we'd be going, oh, okay, good for you. You're down 2-1 to the number 1 team in the state. You're playing awesome, but it's like the team was still making some mistakes there that, at this point in the year, you got to shut these mistakes off if you want to be a state contending team to go to the state tournament. So down 2-1 and really not playing awesome. Really, the person that was playing awesome was between the pipes. But there was a decent amount of those shots too, obviously we want to give Carter Casey some credit for how well he played. I would say of those 57 shots, I'd say at least 25 to 30 of them were perimeter shots. Yeah. Okay. But they definitely had some from the center inside the dots that were good, that he had to make some phenomenal saves. Yeah. So all in all, I think when you walk out of there with that loss, what was it, 3-1?
3-1, yeah.
3-1 or 4-1, whatever it was. I don't even remember the score. All I know it was an L. It was an L for the Thunderhawks, but it was something like, hey, you didn't play as awesome as you could have played, and it was only 3-1 loss to the number 1 team in the state. Imagine if you'd have played well, where you'd have been. You'd have given yourself a chance to compete, to tie it up, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it seemed like that third period, it really. I think Rapids settled down a little bit, and that's when you guys started. Maybe you had a couple power plays late in the third, and then even after the power plays, it kind of kept it down there, and had some shots, and
there were some flurries. There were some chances where we had a couple of scoring opportunities, but to be honest with you, Rapids didn't get all that many shots on net. I think it was under 15 shots.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, it might even been under 10.
I think it was under
like 8 shots or 11 shots, something like that. At any rate, the offensive generating offense has to get better for the Thunderhawks in order to beat top tier teams like that. And defensively, there's still some things to clean up, but I think coming out of it, where you just played against a team at the time that was 6-0 is now 8-0 or whatever it is. You have to have a good feeling in your gut coming out of that game saying, we didn't even play that great and we were this close to the number 1 team. Imagine if we figured out how to play and compete at the level that we know we can. Imagine what that's going to look like at the end of the year. Sure. And if we can get it out of those guys to play that way, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are pleased, including the kids that are playing.
Yeah.
So not a horrible showing, and obviously we'll talk about this, that there's some top teams playing each other this week during some weekend tournaments.
Yeah, so exactly. Well, why don't you get into that? You want to talk about it right now? I mean, might as well.
So we kind of open it up, but there's actually a few we talked about the holiday tournaments and how much of a pain it is that there's no holiday tournaments anymore. Well, Wayzata hosts probably the top tier holiday tournament in the state, and that's going on today, tomorrow, and Friday. Today, you got Wayzata facing off against Lakeville South, and you got Rogers facing off against Minnetonka. All 4 of those teams are rated. I think Lakeville South is maybe rated a little bit farther down, but you got Rogers, Wayzata, and Minnetonka that have been rated in the top 5 to 8 the whole entire season so far. So this is a pretty good matchup. And as of today, I think I saw one of these scores. I didn't see the score for Lakeville South yet, but I did see the score for Minnetonka, and Rogers and Minnetonka beat Rogers 6-1. So this is a pretty big tournament, and I'm sure, we talk about, we were complaining about it last week, and we got a couple of comments on, well, why aren't there any more tournaments during Christmas where people can get their fix of hockey over the holidays? Right now, it's tough to kind of gather that up here up north, but there still is that going on in the Twin City. There's more than that going on down there right now. I think Maple Grove has a tournament that's going on that's got some top tier teams. I think there's a tournament where teams like Cretin are involved and St. Thomas Academy are involved. And obviously this one, in my opinion, is probably one of the best down there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that's the Wayzata Holiday Classic.
Yeah,
So
okay. All right, and then one we missed, Scott Sunball, thank you. As soon as we posted the show last week, Scott Sunball comes on and says, what about the Blue Jacket Tilt? I said, what's the Blue Jacket Tilt? The Blue Jacket Tilt is where the Chisholm-Hibbing Blue Jackets faced off against the Cambridge Isanti Blue Jackets. Outdoors, last Thursday night down in Cambridge, the Chisholm-Hibbing Blue Jackets come out with the 5-4 OT win. Looked like the perfect night weather. I mean, we talked about the weather, how nice it's been, I think it was probably pretty, and you can comment, if you're there, but pretty pleasurable for all the parents and brothers, sisters, whoever showed up, cheerleaders. Wasn't 20 below, could have been 20 below.
did you say it was an outdoor game?
Yeah, outdoor game.
Who has been able to maintain ice outside? That's my
I know.
question.
It was down in Cambridge or Isanti somewhere. It was down there, plexiglass.
It
Saw the whole
must
deal.
have had some sort
Yeah,
of
maybe.
underground cooling system.
Yeah.
Because I know over here at Yanmar, we've been trying to get some
Yeah.
colder weather, so our rink manager, Dale Anderson, can get the pavilion going. You can't even get ice out there.
Right.
There's no way. But again, some of these other places that have outdoor ice may have an under cement cooling system
Right.
that can at least cool the ground enough to get it in.
Exactly, yeah.
So it surprises me that anybody's been able to do it. I mean, you look at the temperature outside right now, it's 36 degrees out.
It's t-shirt weather.
Yeah.
It
It was 47 the other day
Yeah, right.
on Christmas.
It's just incredible.
Yeah.
So the big question is, will the Blue Jacket Tilt be a, yearly tradition? If you know, please comment. I'd like to be able to follow that so we do not miss it again next year. But yeah, outdoor game, sound like they had a lot of fun.
That'd be fun. We talked about that when I was coaching in Virginia, and at the time I think Versich was coaching at Hibbing, and we talked about, hey, how about an outdoor game in Chisholm? Partway through, and see if we could get an outdoor rink in Chisholm or in Mountain Iron, wherever you can get it, where it's a decent rink outside.
Yeah.
I think Buell had an outdoor rink we could go to. And we talked about it, just couldn't put it together. And it's like, well, do you play it as a third game, or do you have your home and away? And then this is a third one. So we couldn't figure out how to do it where everybody had their home and away. And
Sure.
it was part of the conversation, but I think that's kind of a fun tradition for people to get going. I know they did that here in Grand Rapids for a couple of years when Holy Family was coming up here. They had an outdoor game in 2016. They came up, and Coach Klatt, when he was coaching the team at the time, they went to Southwest Elementary and they played outdoors.
Yeah.
So kind of a cool tradition if you get the weather for it, but it's probably going to be mid-January when you be able to get something like that going if you do it this year.
Yeah, at least. All right. Once again, hit the thumbs up button. We appreciate that. We'll move into the preview section here, brought to you by our friends over at our ODR Apparel, Iron Range Apparel. We got the swag, got the shirt. So the gift buyer's paradise. So if you're really a slacker, we talked about their Christmas Eve hours, and that's when I like to do my Christmas shopping. But if you still haven't got that special something, head over to the Thunderbird Mall in Virginia, Iron Range Apparel, the gift buyer's paradise, all kinds of, hockey themed stuff with the ODR, all kinds of Minnesota themed items. That's the place to be. So get your swag, look cool at the rink. We're going to head into a playoff run before you know it. So we're sure you're wearing your ODR swag to the rink today. All right. So just a few things to kind of preview here. We've got Delano. I think we talked before the show. Delano's playing Hermantown now.
Hermantown, yeah.
Yep. So they're going to
that swing up north.
Yep, they're gonna head up, continue up north, hit Rock Ridge. We're recording on Wednesday, so it'll be tomorrow, Thursday, hit Greenway on Friday. I noticed they're out of the top 10. They've been a top 10 team in single A for quite a few years, but I noticed that they're not in the top 10. But then speaking of holiday tournaments, Chisholm-Hibbing is down at the Super Rinks, and Duluth-Marshall-Hibbing, I think, could be an interesting matchup. That will be tomorrow.
That could be interesting. Hibbing also had a game here yesterday where they beat Breck 3-2.
So
yeah, just kind of some interesting teams playing. And I think Hibbing is trying to kind of get into their groove here during the middle of the season. They've picked up some wins, which is kind of good. It's good for those guys to start seeing some success. And I've been seeing a little bit from some of the younger players that are going there. I hear from my good friend, the Strukel family, and it sounds like the freshman is having a heck of a year.
Yeah.
Jackson.
Power play, quarterbacks to power play.
Yeah.
So, all right. So a couple other tidbits here. Scoring leader in the state of Minnesota, Wyatt Farrell, La Crescent Hoka. I think that's down on like I-90, way down there, farm country. practically
Crescent is
Iowa.
down by La Crosse.
Oh, that way. Okay, a little bit further east. Okay. So Wyatt Farrell, 21 goals, 20 assists, 41 points, leading the state. Congratulations, Wyatt. I'm looking on the goaltender side. We actually have a tender from up north here, Chisholm Hibbings, Gavin Lamphere, 9th in the goals against at 165 and 8th in save percentage at .934. So congrats to Gavin.
Pretty good.
And then, and looking at the rankings, single A rankings, quietly, nobody's really talking about Cloquet-Osco Carleton up to 7th.
Yeah, it's kind of neat to see. They made the move. They've seen that, you know, the world is changing with numbers as far as where you should be class wise. And Cloquet made the move at the right time to go to single A. They still have the ability to compete at a double A level. But they decided to move down when they still had the ability, and I think they're going to make a hard push. Like we were saying in the pre-show, you know, you hate to say it about a program because you want the parity to stay the way it's been and continue to have success. But there's the last year or so, there's been some kinks in the armor when it comes to Hermantown, and that, you know, they're human. They weren't human a few years back. They were a machine a few years back where they just kept kicking out championships left and right. Well, when you see some of the things that have kind of transpired the last couple of years, a few guys decided to go and not come back for juniors. That changes programs a little bit. It changes, you know, depth a little bit, and you know, some kinks in the armor start to show up. And I think those kinks in the armor are going to create opportunities here for teams like Hibbing and teams like Cloquet. You're going to see those two teams be high contenders to be the team that possibly can represent Section 7A, whereas it's been dominated for the last decade and a half by Hermantown.
Yeah.
You know, there's been one team that's been able to knock them off, and that was Greenway for 1 year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no one's been able to do it. And I think that could this be the year? It could be.
Yeah.
It could be Cloquet or it could be Hibbing.
Interesting. All right. We'll keep an eye on that. Like I said, it won't be long. We'll be talking playoff hockey. So let's move on to scores and more presented by our friends over at Aspire Heating and Control, your local Bryant dealer, and Bryant is the official heating and cooling company of your Minnesota Wild. Aspire specializes in gas, electric, and hydronic heating and cooling systems for existing and new construction, residential and commercial installations available. Services include forced air systems, boilers, heat pumps, mini splits. They are, of course, licensed and bonded. Give Justin a call, 218-999-5957. 218-999-5957, Aspire Heating and Control. Speaking of that, I went Saturday, Wild game, Bruins. So kids said, we want the Wild to win, and we want to see a fight. The Wild won.
They just
won the fight. And I wanted to see them outshoot them, which they did almost 2-1, which I was surprised it was Boston. So good time had by all.
Who was the fight?
It for us it was Dreaming.
Don't even know how to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was the Bruin?
That I couldn't even tell you. And it was early. It was 3-4 minutes in.
Well, you know, sometimes that sets the tone.
Yeah, sets the tone.
You know, we here at the T with Ms McGill do not condone violence, but there is the sense of when the fisticuffs come out in the game of hockey, there is still a small purpose sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And that is at the professional level. Kids, hear me when I say this. It is for the professional level. It's not for high school, youth hockey, or college hockey.
Yeah.
It comes out of the professional level, and it's for the protection of the players sometimes.
It fired everyone up. They got fired up. And
well, it does. It motivates sometimes.
Yeah, because you know, at that point, I would say because there was a point early in the first where Boston was out shooting the Wild 6-2, and they were up 1-0. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a tough night, and it completely turned around.
Well, it changes.
Yeah,
it'll change in a lopsided game where you've got some momentum going. Like the rink is tilted one direction, and you want to try and stop that tilt or stop the snowball from turning into a snow boulder. Someone can go out there and challenge it toe to toe, and then it brings the energy of that team up.
Yeah,
that was maybe getting ran on. And again, I'll repeat myself because I want to make sure that the point gets run across. It is not for all levels of hockey.
No,
These are professionals that get paid millions of dollars a year. And there's a different purpose behind it with that situation. There's protection for players. You want to protect those players like your Alex Ovechkins. Back in the day, it was Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky had his enforcer that protected him from getting hit. If Wayne Gretzky got hit, Marty McSorley was coming after him.
yeah.
Bottom line.
Semenko, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you have those situations where players are being protected from the cheap stuff. And that needs to have some sort of regulation there. And then sometimes, and I think it's less of this now since concussions have become more of a thing in the whole Bugard story that came out with the CTE and everything. Less of, hey, we need to try to motivate people, so let's fight to motivate. You see less of that now. It's more for the protection aspect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think, yeah.
And I think it's been well monitored by the Players Association. Like they do a good job of having the unwritten rules of, you don't just fight to fight. You don't just fight for entertainment. You get out there to make sure that people are protected.
Yeah, doing some policing.
Yeah.
Doing some policing. All right, so some scores and more from last week. Bemidji topping Roseau 3-2. Warroad over East Grand Forks 4-3. North Shore 4-1 win over Mora. Duluth Marshall 5-1 winners over Red Lake Falls. This would have been a good rivalry game. Falls, Fort Francis, 2-2 tie.
What?
That would have been a good one.
How do you let that game end in a tie?
That would have been a good one. Border battle right there.
That's kind of like the one last week. There was a tie between White Bear Lake and Hill Murray.
What? Really?
How do you let that end in a
That's
tie?
the same thing. Yeah.
You
Jeez.
can't. I mean, somebody's got to say, you know what? Whoever has the ice after it, if there's a tie, you're going to miss a half an hour of practice.
Yeah.
Get it going. You can't end that rivalry with a tie.
That
happened. That game was at Aldrich.
Okay.
And there was 3,000 plus people at Aldrich Arena, and White Bear and Hill Murray were toe to toe. And this is always the two teams that are going at it for the section championship.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And it seems to me that it's been lopsided in Hill Murray's favor for years and years and years. The off year, every now and again, White Bear will knock them off and go. But that ends in a tie, just like Fort Francis and the Falls.
Yeah.
That's
2-2 border battle.
There was a day back when Falls was getting all of those good players from Fort Francis to come over to Minnesota and open and roll and go to high school there. That's apparently not happening.
I know. Okay, what do we got? We're at Duluth East 4-3 over Mounds View, Rock Ridge over Minneapolis 4-1, and the aforementioned Chisholm Hibbing over Breck 3-2. And now it's time for the Walleye Scott CFP Edina Hornets update. They actually were not on the ice. They've not played since the Classic, but they are out in potato country right now facing the Spuds in Moorhead, and a rematch from that quarterfinal game where Edina just couldn't get away from them last year in the state tournament. If you remember, Moorhead just stayed in it. I think 8-6, 8-5. Anyone remembers comment? It was a high scoring game.
Yeah, you know what? I can't even remember. It seems as though the state tournaments the last couple of years, ever since 2017, I haven't been interested. I was interested when Rapids was winning it, but after that, Minnetonka wins it the next year. And that was the last time I went to the state tournament was 2018 when Minnetonka won it. And I just haven't paid attention, although there was the one year I kind of got reeled in and I got hyper focused on hoping Greenway could win it in 2019. But after that, I just haven't paid that close of attention. I guess still as a high school coach, you're stubborn. Like, I'm going to pay attention to the state tournament when my team gets to go again.
Well, nothing wrong with that. Keep hammering them. All right, there it is for episode 73. Anything else to add?
Nope.
All right, just a couple of things. Chisholm Hibbing alumni game tomorrow night, Memorial Building, starting at 5. You go to my Facebook page at Roger Puka or the Parks and Rec of Hibbing. Check that out. 5 o'clock alumni game. First time, long time. I've never played an alumni game over there. So Parks and Rec's putting it on, probably because they're not having a holiday tournament. So they got the ice available. Remember, there's games going on.
Wow.
JV and varsity. And then tonight, if you're in Grand Rapids and you bought your ticket, party, Dutch room, 7 p.m. Drawings will be going on. Don't worry about the 10 grand. I'm going to take that, but there are some other good prizes. So you can go down.
You're going to win it?
Might as well. You know, I was thinking, it's my year. It's my year. So anyway, 7 o'clock, Dutch room. Go support. You know, they're big supporters of hockey. Go support the Dutch room. Have some fun. Have some eggnog. Have some Tom and Jerry's batter, and have a cocktail and have a good time, and best wishes when you're there. And thanks for buying a ticket and supporting hockey and youth hockey. All right, please comment. If you want to get a hold of us privately, Goatsportsmediallc@gmail.com. Of course, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate that. Tea with Ms. McGill on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Musi app. T McGill on Twitter or X, and on Facebook. If you're looking for us on Facebook or YouTube, it's Goat Sports Media LLC. And I realized on our Facebook, we do not have a single review on the Goat Sports Facebook page. So if you have some time and you have something, well, friends, enemy, whatever, the good, bad, the ugly, you said earlier, but if you have something to say, go ahead and feel free to leave a review on our Facebook at Goat Sports Media. Merch in the background, of course, as always, and we got the new merch, it's still on order, so that'll be coming in. $20 for a t-shirt, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, all that good stuff. The greatest partners on earth, the Ring Sports Bar and Grill, Iron Range Apparel and ODR Apparel, Fortune Bay Resort and Casino, Aspire Heating and Control, Iron Range Go to the Academy, and Team Minnesota Hockey. And just Happy New Year to you, Reed. Happy New Year to everybody out there. And I just want to thank everyone, Happy New Year from everyone at Goat Sports. It's not just Reed and I. We got Ryan, we got Bert, of course, Coach Kraus, he's on one of the other podcasts. We got a consultant, Reggie, that helps out a lot. So just thank you to everybody. Happy New Year to everybody. And anything else?
Just Happy New Year, happy hockey for the rest of this year, and then into the new year.
That's right.
Happy hockey.
That's right. And everyone be safe. So for Reed Larson, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the Tea with Ms. McGill Show.